Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 New Jersey International Film Festival filmmaker panel discussion. Today we have three films that are being represented by four filmmakers. There might be a fifth person jumping on, but I'll introduce you to them in a second. We're going to be talking animation films today, and we've got a wonderful batch of them to share with you as part of our 30th annual New Jersey Film Festival. It's the international version that we set up back in 1996. We got a challenge grant from all these wonderful foundations, the Geraldine Dodge Foundation, the Ford Foundation, all these entities contributed, and we were winners of this challenge grant and said, can you do an international film festival? I said, sure, because we normally do the New Jersey Film Festival that's aligned with the academic calendar in the fall and in the spring. So we thought we would do one in the summer. And the idea was, could we get people to come and see a film from Afghanistan at 12 noon on a Monday in New Brunswick? And realized very quickly that never was going to happen because we're really a kind of suburban community and don't have the same kind of bodies that New York City has or Philadelphia. So we kind of put all the screenings on the weekends. So our festival will be taking place between May 30th and June 13th. The competition part of the festival goes from May 30th to June 8th. There'll be a concert, an audiovisual concert on June 13th. And I'll show you at the end of the program how you can buy tickets and get more information about our festival. Right now, it's time to introduce everybody. We have all the way at the bottom of these Hollywood squares here, Nick Zweig, the creative process director. He's from Bernardsville, New Jersey. I didn't know he was a Jersey guy. I thought he was based in Manhattan. For the longest time, he's been making wonderful animations for a long time. So we're really happy to have you here. Toil and Spin director Maureen Zent is from Atlanta, Georgia, and she's joining us, as well as Elizabeth Schneider and Michael Covello. They're from Pennsylvania and New York, I think, right? You guys split existence, and their film Becoming an Oyster is also an amazing animated film. So we're going to be talking about your wonderful animations for the next 25 minutes. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
I can't forget introducing you to the most special person, Morgan Kalmbach, who's the assistant director at the New Jersey International Film Festival and the New Jersey Film Festival too. She's been helping me do all the nitty-gritty stuff, and she's been with us for almost a year and a half. She was an intern and she was promoted, and she's also an accomplished filmmaker, so I like to embarrass her on the big screen whenever I can, because she's a really special person. So welcome, everybody. I get to ask the first question, and since everybody's seen all the other films, you guys can jump in and ask questions too. We've got a stop motion animation, Toil and Spin. We've got a hand-drawn animation, The Creative Process. And I'm really not sure about Elizabeth and Michael's film. I think it's drawn. Can you tell us a little bit more? I'll let you guys jump in first.
So we usually start in the studio making large scale drawings and paintings.
When we say studio, we mean like a drawing and painting type studio.
Yes, so like more traditional based, sometimes digitally drawing on smaller screens as well. And then we take those images and we build a story out of them. And so when we're animating digitally 2D style. Sometimes when we're drawing, we'll draw like almost like a stop motion. So we'll draw multiple versions of something that we integrate in. But it's sort of it's like a traditional digital process. So we combine a lot of different components in there. So you'll see in the animation, there's these like large landscapes, and those are huge charcoal drawings.
Yeah.
They're like, what are they? Like 5 foot large.
For me, like Liz is an amazing animator, and then like just period the end. For me, I think like I'm a drawer, I'm a painter first and foremost, and that informs the decisions that I make. And I'm a little bit more clumsy as an animator, but still okay. But for me, like that beginning stage of just going into the studio and just making raw drawings, raw paintings, and that being the thing that feeds the process.
But we look a lot like Nick's film, where the character like having his eyes like expand and going crazy. That's what it looks like a lot in our studio. before it all comes together.
Very cool. So your film is focusing on climate change and the opioid crisis, and it does tell a story. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a weird combination of things that we've been kind of like toying with in separate realms, like the opioid crisis and environmental issues. And we tend to lean a little bit more on the environmental issues, but lately our thoughts have been going more towards addiction, which has touched our lives personally and our families.
Mm.
So it's become more and more important to us. But the story is basically the sort of surreal, not completely easy to understand story of two boys trying to process the loss of their father. And what that loss is, we're not willing as narrators to completely own up to. Like the viewers have to figure out, what type of loss is this? Is this a magical loss? Or is this a real loss through death?
Mm.
And sort of the coping mechanisms these two little boys are trying to process that loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes any sense. And like the bathtub becomes an important symbol.
Of like a
And
portal and just, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also the idea of the two characters. So we wrote the story together. And that's how we started this particular animation with the story.
while our house is flooding. So like
Yes.
it's
Flooding.
our basement's flooding. That was sort of the thing that first inspired it. And then the symbolism of that sort of leading into this sort of addiction issue.
Yeah, and I think with we've got young kids, and just thinking about the legacy and how they are processing the world, and
Mm.
And what we're
just,
leaving them as an
yeah.
older generation and what older generations have left
And
us.
just like the stress and anxiety of like our current society, and thinking about their future and what will they have, and what will be available to them, and how we're processing things differently than they are, but they're still feeling a little bit of just like that uncertainty, I think. So
Generational, yeah.
yeah.
And then
Very,
we
it's
go
a
ahead,
very
sorry.
scary time, and I
Yeah.
think I think your film underscores that and keeps it very personal at the same time, which is very notable. And Maureen's film is not in the same way personal on the surface, but it is a journey film. Um, it reminded me of Hans Richter's Rhythmus series. I don't know if you've ever seen those films.
Oh, I'll
From
write that down.
he used a series of geometric patterns. They weren't 3D like yours are, but they're squares and triangles that he animates. And there's Rhythmus 21 and Rhythmus 23. I think they're on the internet. You can check them out for sure. But tell us a little bit about the process and your film.
Really, the jumping off point is that I've been, I guess, over the last 5 or 6 years, when I go see to an art museum or an art exhibit or gallery, or I'm out walking to see a large piece of sculpture, it's been hitting me like, how would I move that? How would I make it move if I were going to stop motion it? And that certainly is the genesis of this. Is
Mhm.
where I started is not where I ended up with. I started with a Louise Nevelson assemblage box, and like, how would I move it if I were going to do it? But ended up with more minimalist artists like Donald Judd. I did a trip to Marfa, and then I also got to catch the Donald Judd retrospective at MoMA right before the pandemic started. So that was the starting point. But I hung it on the idea of sleep and the nature of sleep, and how do you what is deep sleep like? What is sleeplessness night? It's sort of this place you can't escape, and you're trying to escape. And then finally, dreamland, and using abstracts to describe that. And the ironic things was I would lay awake at night, not being able to get back to sleep, thinking about how am I going to animate this sequence. So there was a circular
Very much so. Yeah.
aspect to that.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. And I worked with a lot of wood, and
And you created the objects yourself, correct?
yes, it did. Yeah, a lot of bandsaw time.
And what are they made out of?
There's a lot of wood. The block,
Really?
every rectangular prism is wood, and then I also have some spheres that are styrofoam that were covered with paper clay.
Wow.
Yeah.
They look like they're wood too. So you did a great job merging the two.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and
Wonderful.
then I worked with a really wonderful composer who it makes so much of a difference having the right kind of soundtrack.
Absolutely. And that's one of the highlights of your films as well. I mean, creatively speaking. But since we're talking creatively, I wanted Nick submitted a film to us, and I really, really wanted to show it, but we couldn't because it was already on the internet. So I said, Nick, you got to send us another one of your films because we love them. And so he was working on the creative process. He said, I can send you this one. So luckily we got that one under the wire, and we're going to be screening that one. And I hope we can screen some more of his works. He's really very talented. Tell us about your film, the creative process, and the process that went into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to first, Maureen, have you ever heard of Gumbasia by Art Clokey? Because that's have you heard of it?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
that was the first thing that I thought of when I saw your film. I was like, it like reminds me a lot of
Thank
like
you.
Gumbasia. And I really loved your film. It's got such a care in like the composition of all of these shapes that are so simple, but they
Mhm.
like they're just so pleasing to look at. And it's like there's not you like really pare it down where it's like we're not going to care too much about color. It's just gonna like pure composition.
Yeah.
And it's like I loved it. That's why
And that's what the hope that, like, at very least with experimental, like, just give you an aesthetic experience, just roll with it. Don't think too much about
I
it.
think that's very hard to do sometimes with like a very simple film and like visually to make it like just something nice to look at because sometimes those films are just like well it's a dot on a screen but I just want
Well,
to
tell
sing
us
your
about
praises a
your
little
film.
bit
Tell
and
us about your film, Nick.
sorry yes so the creative process was uh I was actually trying to make a different film. I was really having a hard time working on making a film that was very personal to me, and I was having trouble just like even starting, like even with starting designs, starting animation, starting storyboarding. I just couldn't do it, and I'd been wanting to jump back into doing more animation on paper again, and at the time I also was unemployed for like some of my freelance work had fallen through, so I had like a month where I wasn't doing anything,
Hmm.
and I was just like pouring my frustrations out onto the paper to make this very I mean a frustrated angry film. Like it was a way for me to vent, and I felt very like at the end of it it made me feel a lot better because that feeling of just like you're putting the pen to paper, you're not making anything, and nothing's coming out the way you need it to, and that's pretty much what the film's about. Like it's a very simple film of just the artist's block, and I'm sure everybody here has probably had a form of that at some point.
Absolutely. I think that's the one. It's a very auto portrait for sure. And I think
Yeah,
we've all gone through that mental block process. But Morgan, I wanted you to jump in because I didn't want to hog all the questions.
Thank you. Okay. Each of the films has such like purposeful sound design. I was wondering if you all could talk about how you worked with sound design and if you knew that you wanted certain sounds to be omitted or to be included. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Jump
really
in.
curious to hear from Elizabeth and Michael about how they did their sound design.
Hmm.
So we wrote the script for it, and we knew we wanted a narrator, to narrate it.
Spoken
Yeah,
word,
spoken
yeah.
word. So we hired a voice actor, to voice it for us, and we went back. It's like a process. You record like a scratch audio for the other person. You're like going back and forth with the person. So they were really great, and they ended up giving us this really great voice
I think
recording.
we're interested in the idea that it could be collaborative. Like we don't want to like micromanage. So like the voice actor gets to do a lot. Like we want to see their response to things. And
Yeah.
we've done a lot of the music composition ourselves in the past. but not this one.
Yeah.
We wound up going to an artist residency and meeting a composer who fell in love with the compositions that we were doing. But you could tell that he was like, I could do this
Yeah.
better. Like
He's like,
maybe. But we were like simpatico in the way we were sort of hearing and wanting things. And
yeah.
so I think he just his soul reflected our soul and we built something off of that. And that was something else where we
Yeah.
sent him some visuals, we sent him the script and the spoken word parts, and we said, hey, like put your imprint on this,
Yeah.
however you think it should be. And then that actually informed how we animated.
Mm.
So we got the compositional side, the music composition, and then it kind of changed a lot of our
Yeah,
plans.
because we had sent him the original, like a storyboard with all these like original images and sketches and like what we were kind of thinking for timing.
Mm.
And we were like, we were really like, but we were open to him kind of
Well,
playing
say his name,
around with it.
Christoph
Yeah,
Pressing.
Christoph
Christoph
Press.
Pressing, and he's based in Chicago. He's
Yeah,
really incredible.
yeah.
How about your sound design, Maureen?
Well, I worked with, it's all music and it's all created by a fellow I know, Paul Guy Stevens. He's a local percussionist and composer. And we'd worked together before, but this time I really felt like with this, I really did everything sort of backwards, and that I really developed a lot of the animation before I called on Paul. But I knew what I was going to do is a lot of looping, and I could then go back and take what I'd done and arrange it around that. But basically the way I've worked with him is to describe the project, describe the feel I want, talk about instrumentation, and then provide him with some music examples, like a playlist, so he can listen to that, think about it, and then go from there. But we went through maybe 4 or 5 rounds with getting it to what I wanted it to be and what he felt good about it. So I'm really excited about the music in this. I think he does a great job. And yeah.
Definitely works really, really well. What about you, Nick? Your soundtrack is a little bit different.
Yeah, also my sound design is not quite done
Done
yet.
yet,
Sorry
yeah.
about that. But the music for it is a collaborative of mine. I think he's done music for my past 3 films. Uh, his name is Brendan Cleary, really talented musician. But I said I kind of came to him and I was like, I really want something like jazzy, like something very uh, kind of light, but like has a nice chaotic feel to it. And he came to me with, I want to do clowncore, which I don't know if you guys know what that is.
I
It's
do.
uh,
Crazy.
jazz, but like it's falling down the stairs, and also just did whippets or something.
Okay.
And then and then like halfway through doing the music, he was like, I think this is too hard. I don't think I can do clowncore. And then I waited a week, and then he came back to me with like the perfect like music for it,
Mm.
which was inevitably more clowncore centric. Uh, but it was with him. It's always been very fun because I'll be like, I want this, and then we'll get 90% of the way there, and then I'll nitpick like every other thing. And he just gets more and more frustrated until like the last thing, and I'm like, this is perfect. And he's like, thank you.
Demanding director. That's good. That's good.
I've
Yeah,
known him for too long to not be extremely demanding.
I think Nick's work has a great like UPA sort of like reference tie-in for me, like
Mm.
just like with the audio and even the visualizations for me, I like saw that. And I think it was like a great pull off.
I love the UPA style, and like even though it's not UPA, but like the short Gerald McBoing Boing, like that's a
Yeah,
short
yeah.
like I'll watch every once in a while, and I'm always if I get like a contract for a project, I'm like, what if we did this style? And they're like, nah.
Well, one of our biggest fans of this festival is Bill Plimpton, and we've shown a lot of his work over the years. And I kept on thinking of Nick as kind of a neo Bill Plimpton, of course, with your own mark for sure. And he always said to the students, keep it short, 5 minutes, and work from there. Don't do the feature right away. But I think, Nick, you're ready for the feature. I really do. I think.
Thank you.
From the ones
I'll
that
keep
I've
that in mind.
seen, you could do a duck, take all the duck films and make them into a longer one. But that's just, me throwing out an idea. Hopefully, you probably have already thought about it. But guys,
Unfor-
we have
uh,
time. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just about to say, like, I would love to make more Duck films, but unfortunately, Duck is owned by a studio that produced it. So,
So that's not the case. Okay. Well,
yeah.
something similar. But guys, we have time for a little bit more banter between us before I kind of share screen with our audience. Would you like to ask each other questions?
Yeah, I'd love to ask Nick about how you decided how much. Like, I think one of the things with shorts is deciding how long to make them. Yours could have been. It just was perfect. I thought lengthwise, you made a really good decision about that idea and how much weight it could have, and how to make it increasingly describe the
Mhm.
situation and then end it pretty fast. So how did
Yeah.
you decide?
I really appreciate shorter films like that can get to the point and keep you and keep you not in, I wouldn't say invested because I feel like a 2 minute film like the investment for it's like not a lot,
Mm.
but a lot of it was keeping it that short. Was one of my previous films, which Albert mentioned, I Am Duck, was a 12 and a half minute short film, which was, I don't ever want to make a film that long again. It was so long. But keeping it around 2 minutes it's manageable, just as in I really don't want to be working on this forever. And it
Mm.
was a film that like the production of like from starting drawing to like shooting everything and finishing up the drawings with all like the crazy like paint and crayons and all that stuff took about a month and a half of like just solid work, which is like I wish I had a better answer of like, oh, I was thinking the more I watched it, the more I thought like this is the perfect amount of time to have it be crazy, and this is the perfect amount of time to have it be this.
Mm.
But it really was just like I didn't want to work on this too long, or else I would cycle back from being frustrated with making art and venting to now I'm frustrated with being frustrated on making art and making a film about being frustrated on making art. And
Yeah,
that gets too meta. Nobody wants to hear about that.
it's true. Okay, I think we're good time-wise. Let's do this now, since we need to let people know how they can get access to our film festival. So I'm going to share screen. And okay, we don't see if we can make this bigger. Move it over, make it bigger. So normally you would go to njfilmfest.com, which is our homepage. But since the pandemic, we're a hybrid festival. So we show online and in person. And so we moved our festival to the Eventive website. So you have to click on that little red um, button on our homepage for this festival. And then this one opens up and you can get access to all the information here. The welcome page has basic info, driving directions. You can park for free on the university campus near the screening space. You just got to register your car, sponsors and staff. That's on the welcome page. Then you click the schedule, and that gives you basic information. It's very vanilla. And our program is on June 6th, and Nick's film is the first one, The Creative Process. Maureen's is the next film, and Elizabeth and Michael's film is right after. It's all done by time. There's no real rhyme or reason other than the longer the film, the further down it sits in the program. So you guys are part of Short's program on Friday, June 6th, and the films are available for 24 hours online, which means that starting at 12 midnight Eastern USA time, the films are made available and they run until 11:59 that day. But there's also the in-person component, and your ticket is good for both. And we have some crazy people that will watch all the films during the day and then come to the in-person screening later that evening to interact with the filmmakers who are visiting. And I know a number of filmmakers will be here for this screening, and that way they can interact and do another Q&A with the audience besides this one. So the schedule page is really kind of very generic, old school. You go to the menu part, you get back to everything that you saw you go to the welcome page and you hit the film guide, and there's individual blurbs for each film. Becoming an Oyster has pictures so you can get a sense of what Elizabeth and Michael's film is like. You go back to the film guide and you go to the creative process, the same thing. I couldn't really put this image up because of the fuck stuff over there, but I sent it to the press. We'll see what they do. But you can get access to all of the films this way. And if not, you go back to where it says tickets, and this is where you would buy tickets for the show. And it's under animation or experimental. You can click on learn more and get more information about each of the films. I think there's like 10 films that we're showing that day. And in order to buy tickets, you hit the pre-order now button. And if you've never come to our festival, you need to register, which takes like 20 seconds. But it's really, really easy to do. And that way you're always in and can buy tickets very readily. The All Access Pass is great for people who want to see everything. And remember, a ticket is good for the in-person and the online version. And you get a lot for your money with the All Access Pass. It's like half off. We are doing a Mike Kovacs audiovisual concert on June 13th, so come and check that out too. But I'm going to stop sharing and say thank you to all of you for hanging out with us for the last half hour. And we look forward to seeing you at the screening. I think Elizabeth and Michael, you guys are coming, right?
Yeah, as long as we can get our babysitter to
I
be
hear
there,
you. I hear you.
we'll be there.
I think Maureen is too far away, but I don't know if she's going to be coming. But I think Nick is going to come. He's the local.
I'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I think there'll be like 4 or 5 filmmakers there. And at the end of the program, you all stand up and take questions from our audience. And our audience is very nice. They're always got some really fascinating questions. So I want to say thank you to all of you for joining us. Thank you, Morgan, as well. And we'll see you guys at the movies, some one way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to stop recording.